unpack. I don't know if y'all been getting y'all life, but I've been getting my life. But listen, it's been a good time. It has been a good time. What you think it is?
Yes,
How,
it
how
has.
you
This season is rocking and rolling on by. I can't believe we're like pretty more than halfway through it, which is
feeling?
crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we've been able to have the kind of conversations we've had at this point because we kind of sometimes I'm like, didn't we already talk about that? And it's like we've never talked about that 100 plus episodes in. So I love that we're still so inspired and we're
Yeah.
still like attracting these dope, dynamic humans to have the conversations that need to be had. That's amazing at this point because I really thought we was gonna run out of stuff to talk about.
You and me both. But you know what? That goes to show you, A, just start, right? No matter, you don't have to have this full blueprint of how it's supposed to go or what it's supposed to look like. That's great. And don't get me wrong, I love that too. However, just start and understand that as you grow, as you roll, as you keep it moving, so many amazing, wonderful, phenomenal things will come your way, will happen. And along the way, you'll help folks that you never even imagined you would help. So I love
Yes.
this.
So let's jump right into the quote of the week. The quote of the week is: the universe is always speaking to us, sending us little messages, causing coincidences and serendipities, reminding us to stop, to look around, to believe in something else, something more. And that's from Nancy Thayer.
I really like
I
that.
love that, right? Like
Yeah.
the conversation that we're gonna have today, cracking the manifestation code, is just such I hate saying paradigm shift because everyone says that, but this really is that.
It
You
really
know,
is.
it really is that. So this quote is just so perfect because there's just something about when you realize that you are a part of this bigger whole, this oneness, that you are like connected to this source of pure love and
Yeah.
energy. And then you start really paying attention. Like some of us will see angel numbers like 1111 or 444 or 333. And, we'll start to get messages and communication in different ways. And it's just such a beautiful part of the awakening process.
It really is. And you'll find too, once you decide to wake up to your own bullshit and decide that who I was is not who I can continue to be, you will find that everything that you need to connect to go to the next level, to help you up level, to help you heal from things that you were doing your best to ignore, it will come into your own, field of consciousness. And for those who are like, what, that's so deep, field of consciousness just means awareness, right? Like you had on shades, it was real, real dark, you took them off, and now you can see a brilliant light. That's what will start to happen. And you'll start to walk yourself down paths that you never even imagined were possible for you. So that willingness to remain open and to know, like, hey, how things are is not how things have to be, for better or for worse. So if they are really, really great, find a way to anchor yourself in gratitude. I call it perspective anchoring. Find a way to anchor yourself in a perspective that feels really, really good to you, because then when you're moving around the world with that type of openness and with that type of perspective that's anchored in gratitude, it changes the game. And I know we say things change the game a lot because that's just what we do on
That's
Trigger
what
AF.
we're doing. Exactly. I was just gonna say that because that's what we're doing. That's what we do, baby.
It's what we do, baby.
We change the game.
Yes. And with that, for the dating well AF tip. Now, this one, I know we've given you a lot of dating well AF tips, but this one too is a game changer. So go ahead, get your pen and paper, prepare to write it down. This one is: you will never be able to shape shift enough for someone who doesn't like or want you. Hear
Mm,
their actions and act accordingly. Listen,
mm.
there is a poem, actually one of my favorite poems by, and I always butcher her name, so I sincerely apologize in advance, sis. Warsaw, and it's a phrase, or I guess a line in the poem goes, for women who are hard to love. And there's another line that says, you know, you try to be softer, you try to basically change yourself into all these things to meet the impossible standards of the person who you just had to have. And in the end, you still found out that you were not enough. And what it reminds me of, and it is a reminder for all of us to remember that, hey, sometimes you simply have the wrong audience. I don't care how juicy of a pear you may be. Some people just don't like pears, or they are allergic to pears. So, no matter how good it is you feel you are, you just might not align with that person, and that's fine. Be willing to honor the fact that, hey, this is who I am. This is how I like to show up in the world. And maybe, just maybe, this person might not be bad, but they might not be the best for me.
Right. And it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you because they don't want you. You know,
Absolutely.
it's so easy to internalize others' opinions about us or the way others treat us or the things they
Mhm.
say to us.
Yeah.
And really, it's just like 99% of the time, it's a reflection of their own internal state and they're
Mhm.
projecting onto you. And then you start to believe that story about yourself that they've put
Yeah.
into your head. So it's okay to like sometimes end up at the wrong address and they don't understand the value that you hold.
Mhm.
But you know, I've definitely I've made the analogy before of, you know, taking a diamond to someone who doesn't understand diamonds and they think it's just a rock and they toss it to the side, right?
Mhm.
Unless they know
Yeah.
what to do with it, they may not ever be able to see how sparkly and beautiful and how valuable it is. So the main thing, my takeaway from that is also remembering that you can't change anyone's mind,
No.
especially a man that's decided that you are not it. He may keep you around, like if you've been listening to us for a while, like a Pokemon, right? A pocket monster. But it doesn't mean just because he's giving you the attention and maybe in a little time and maybe he spent a little bit of money, you can pay attention to his actions to see if he really, really wants to invest in your future with you. So you cannot change his mind. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say. It no matter how many times you pop your pussy on the handstand. Okay. It's not happening. If he has decided, that's it. And it's time for you to count your losses and move on.
Chuck the deuces and say goodbye. You know what? That brings us to our next point. You know, some things that I would like for us to chuck the deuces and say goodbye on.
Today, yesterday,
Listen,
please.
last week.
Our pop culture healing and trauma segment this week, because it is just so fresh. We just had to talk about it. Is the Meg the Stallion and Nicki Minaj beef? And I know, it just seems so above us, and it kind of is. But we actually want to talk about the piece that reveals just how low vibrating a lot of the music in our community is. You know, it's like we were talking off air about like, do country artists have beef? And Alicia Googled it. And she's like, they have beef, but they don't die. You
They
know,
don't die
like
because of their
rap
beef
artists have beef and people end up dead. Like
a lot of the time.
like a lot, and it's only gotten worse over the decades. Hip hop's only been around for 50 years, and I'm sure if we tallied up all the rappers, upcoming rappers, producers, managers, like just people within that sect of the industry that have died over foolishness, hip hop's only been around for 50 years. And if we were to add up all the people and the rappers and the up and coming artists and the managers and the producers and the people that have died in the name of hip hop beef, you know, to see these two talented, strong, influential, beautiful women, you know, against each other and hitting below the belt with some of the things they're saying. Meg Thee Stallion released a diss track called Hiss, and she alluded to Nicki Minaj's husband's sex offender registration with a line around Megan's Law, and that law was um, it came about in like 1994, 1995, when a young girl was raped and murdered by her neighbor, a 7-year-old girl. And they decide that's when they came up with that sex offender registry system where sex
Mhm.
offenders have to register and be on a public registry for people to look up. And in the song, Meg the Stallion made a comment about Megan's Law, which was also the same year Nicki Minaj's husband, was convicted of attempted aggravated assault against a 16-year-old girl when he was 17. So it led Miss Minaj, who is never going to back down from a clapback chair, to release a song called Bigfoot, where she talks about Meg the Stallion's deceased mother. She alludes to her promiscuity. It's just getting nasty, and it seemed like they were friends before, so I don't really know what went wrong or what went left. But it is really, really heartbreaking to just see women with so much influence, because you know what happens when they beef, all their fans, the barbs and everybody like goes crazy, and
And
it's
the
like this
hotties.
energy in the
Yeah,
hotties. That's what hers are called. The hotties and the barbs are fighting online, and then all this energy gets poured into that, and it just lowers the overall vibration of the community.
yeah. Yeah, it's like a windstorm, kinda like
Yeah.
when there's a storm, everything in its wake kinda gets swept up,
Yeah.
and that's what is happening, and it's like, "Okay, but at what point are we tired?" And here's the thing,
Right.
don't get me wrong, I love a good beat. I do. I do. Ooh, I do. And also, I think I'm finally a real live auntie in that I'm so sick of all of the raps about how good your coochie is. I mean, at some point, if the coochie is that good, why does everybody cheat on it? No disrespect. No disrespect. I am not at all victim blaming. Okay. I am just saying that maybe, just maybe, we should focus on other things. Maybe you
Right.
could rap about, I don't know, how like, I don't know, because I'm not a rapper, but like how dope you are in
Or
business or
maybe
how
you're a
kind you are.
philanthropist. Maybe you're building schools in Africa. Maybe, I mean, Meg the Stallion, doesn't she have like a degree or something like that? Like,
Yes,
isn't she like
she's
college
incredibly
educated?
smart. She's incredibly
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah. So it's just like, can we bring back like the Lauryn Hill vibes? Like, can we like, like come back with a miseducation of somebody? Okay. Because it's just like what female rap, and not even just female rap, what rap and hip hop has become, over the last 50 years of its existence is just, it's like I felt like it had like a good motive of like trying to reveal and trying to speak out about what was happening in these inner cities, what police were
Mhm,
doing, what gangs were doing, and
mhm.
and now to just see it just become this place to like shake ass and talk about killing each other. I don't know. Like it, I feel
And
like hip
selling
hop music
drugs,
and
and
selling
selling
drugs, killing each. Oh, that
Don't
was under the
forget
blanket
that
of
one.
killing each other. But I kind of feel like hip hop is the op, you know? Like it's like they're the ops now. Like that, like there's no way that you're for our community. Like there's all this money, y'all have all these clothes, all these cars, all these things that you're supposedly doing, but yet our culture is not moving forward as a whole enough based on all the influence and all the power and money that's starting to circulate within our community. Like I think it's time that we demand more from our artists, because now it's just getting to a point where no one's taking us seriously. Like no one's taking anybody seriously. Like the speakers of the Black community are people who sometimes can't even enunciate their words. Like that's not a representation of Black people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like the
yeah.
representation of the Black woman is not the Black woman who could shake her ass the most. Like that's not, like there's so much more to us, but these are the representatives. So just want you guys to, when you guys are looking, the point of this was when you guys are looking and reading about these beefs and keying and getting wrapped up in it, try to like get your key in and exit stage left. Like don't absorb that. Don't walk around with that. Don't take that and use that against the woman in your life and feel like, oh, now you can pop off and say what you need to say. Let's try to like have our little keys and keep it moving and keep our vibrations high so that we can continue to ascend and evolve into the wonderful, beautiful woman that we are.
And also remember, a lot of this is marketing because
Mhm.
it
That
wraps
part.
so many people up and it gets the people going. It's marketing, but you are shifting your entire energy field and pulling in some hella low vibrational stuff because you have now invited this into your universe, and it's marketing.
It is because
It's
somebody's
marketing.
profiting and it ain't you.
It ain't you. It ain't you. I want us to be better. So we invite you all to tap into this episode. I know we say a lot of episodes of game changers, and I know we've said it multiple times in this triggered first talk segment, but baby, get ready. See you in the episode.
Um, as you guys know, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So we're gonna dive right in. And I just want you guys to get your scuba gear because we are going a little bit deep today. Okay. We've been hanging out on the shore with y'all for a few episodes now. It's time to go a little bit deep. And who else to take us out into the deep ocean other than transformational speaker and a catalyst for rising consciousness, Karen Cheong? Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm having so much fun already. I think my face is going to hurt from laughing by the end of this. I
Yeah.
can tell.
Yes, we can laugh, we can go deep, we might cry, who knows, okay? We're
Okay.
we're we're, we're in for a ride. So, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. When it was presented for you to be on the podcast, we were just like, "Oh my god, this is so necessary." I think selfishly, I just want to learn from you. Like, it'd be great if our audience does, but mainly I am just very interested in this podcast. So thank you so much for joining us. And I just know you're going to have a wealth of knowledge and information and perspective for all of us. But before we get into all of that, out of all the titles, accolades, the things that you do, who is it that you say you are?
So, you already said it. So, I say that I am a catalyst for a rise in consciousness. I'm very aware of what my function is here on this earth plane at this time. And
Yeah.
that's my function, is to help people awaken.
Ooh, okay, help them awaken. See, told y'all, get ready to go deep.
You asked.
That is so powerful. That's so powerful to know that.
Yeah.
Like, oof, okay.
Yeah. And it took me, so I'm the type of person who's quite private, so I don't, I'm not, before my abilities came in, it's not like I was on social media or anything like this. Like I'm quite quiet, as a person.
Yeah.
And for me, I had to work with myself quite a bit to step into who I am, to actually say, this is my role, this is my function. Not everyone has to believe it, not everyone has to resonate with it, but
Yeah.
I have to be clear with it. Like I have to
Mhm.
be okay being seen as this because this is how I serve. And so it wasn't like I like, just came into it and was like, yeah, this is all great. I totally want this. I had to work with myself for a while because it's something that I personally had to struggle with in terms of visibility. It's like a big thing to say. And you open yourself up potentially to a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment and a lot of all kinds of things when you say things like this. So
Mhm.
it's something that um, even in saying it, it's a wonderful thing for me personally, even though you might not know that externally. It's these little things that we claim for ourselves when we step into who we truly are and how we serve, and being able to say it and be visible saying it is an important thing, I think, for all of us in our own unique expressions of who we are.
For sure. It is literally, it is a challenge to yourself to, okay, do you believe you? Like your soul knows
Yeah.
exactly what's possible for you, and it will consistently and constantly fight you to believe it. You will not feel okay doing things that don't fulfill you. There will be an
Yeah.
intense longing and even a sadness that comes with trying to deny who you are. But I'm a firm believer in the moment you can say it out loud, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is the type of change I will effectuate or be a catalyst, of or for. Once you get there, that is literally half the battle because there's an acceptance that comes.
Yeah,
It kind of like, okay, it's like it inches you out of that rut or out of that stuck position, which is where so
mhm,
many people are. They are stuck, and
totally.
you have, when you see the conversations online with social media, you know the mindless scrolling and the incessant fights about things that are utterly pointless, so many are stuck. But what do you
Mhm.
believe is maybe the most pervasive, invisible thing that's keeping so many people in that stuck place?
Yeah. So to me, it's what I call distortion patterns. Okay, so you might ask yourself, what the hell is a distortion pattern? To me, a distortion pattern is a block that you sometimes are aware of consciously. Sometimes you're not aware of at all, so it's unconscious. That happens at spirit level, which causes you to be stuck and to spin around in the same place over and over. So,
Mhm.
to understand distortion patterns, you have to understand how the reality works. So, I don't know if it's okay for me to dive in at this point.
Let's
Yes,
dive on
let's
in.
go.
Okay.
I know. We interrupted at the best part, but hear me out.
Dating should not be this hard. Let's be honest. We've all said it at least once that the dating pool has pee in it.
It has to. After dozens of dates, too many failed relationships, engagements, marriages, and even a divorce, we decided it was crucial that we find ways to be better at attracting the partners that we desire. So we did just that. And we created the Dating Well AF course.
It's specifically designed to show women how to date with intention and in alignment with their desired type of lifestyle and experience. The 5-module crash course developed by certified coaches Alicia and Danny provides practical tools to date well and live even better.
So I want you to register now for lifetime access to the Dating Well AF course at datingwellaf.com. You will tap all the way in to learn how to identify those self-sabotaging behaviors, discover new ways to date intentionally, and to nurture that healthy love.
Remember, one of the most important life decisions you'll ever make is who you decide to make your partner. Make the choice well and visit datingwellaf.com.
Now, back to the episode.
All right. So I believe, and it's something that's been well talked about for quite a number of time, quite a lot of time actually, is that we are all vibrating. So we are all light vibrating at different rates. Yes, this is not a new concept. It's been talked about by scientists for decades now. And so the rate of vibration is what dictates what things appear as. So what do I mean by that? So if you take water, for example, when the molecules are vibrating very fast, it's steam. And when the molecular vibration slows down, it becomes liquid water. And when the molecular vibration slows down even more, it becomes solid or ice. So if you take that same idea and extrapolate it all the way to consciousness, which is extraordinarily high in vibration, we cannot measure it yet with our physical tools. And then if you go even further into like the oneness or the divine or pure source or whatever you want to call that very highly vibrating consciousness from which everything comes and to which everything returns, that is vibrating at an extraordinarily high rate. In order for the oneness to be something other than one, it needs to drop in vibrational level to experience something other than the oneness, even to experience itself as separate. Like over there, that's oneness, and now I'm separate. It requires a drop in vibrational level. Once that vibrational level drops from the oneness, frequencies exist. And then when that vibration slows down even more, it becomes what we sort of colloquially talk about as energy. And when that vibration slows down even more, it becomes form or physical matter. And when I say form or physical matter, I mean things even like your emotions and your thoughts. It's what is within the construct of the physical reality.
Yeah.
So the thing is, everything happens at the frequency level first, and then the slower, denser vibration of the physical mirrors that higher vibrational level. Everything reorganizes around the higher vibrational level. So I say that because it's very like a kind of a, like a this thing that can cause like that in your brain, because we were all conditioned to think that I have to change things in the physical and then I'll affect things on the spirit level. But it's actually the inverse. The thing that's vibrating higher will always dictate. So the physical will reorganize quickly around what's happening on frequency level. So to get back to distortion patterns. So what is a distortion? So to me, when we choose to come into the embodiment, now I know for some of you out there, you're like, why the hell would I choose to come into the embodiment? Because it kind of sucks. You want to have an experience of density. So you have to realize that 99.9999999% of everything is quote unquote nothing. We're not form. The rest is form, which is 0.0000001, right? Percent. What are we? We're form, we're density, we're matter. It's kind of a miracle that we get to experience it. I know it sucks sometimes, but it is a miracle because most things are not form. So we choose embodiment. So when you come into the embodiment, from my perspective, you're a sphere of pure source energy that vibrates at a very specific rate. And that specific rate is what individuates us. It's what makes you you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So when that drops into form or physicalness, right? Because I mean, obviously our bodies are denser, so it's a drop in vibrational rate. What happens is that layers and 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 layers of what look like duct tape to me form around the sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are the layers of duct tape? The layers of duct tape are things like what your lineage experienced. Okay, so your ancestors, you might not know their names, you might not know who they were, what they look like, but there they are in the field influencing you. Now, the field of epigenetics is starting to map this from like a science perspective of what your ancestors experienced many generations ago very much dictates how your DNA expresses and the choices you make, right? So it's starting to catch up. So science is catching up to spirit.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's your cultural distortion patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have cultures that we come from that are
Yeah.
greater than us and they influence who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We have religious distortion patterns. Whether or not you particularly are practicing any religion right now, your lineage did. And
Mm-hmm.
so it affects you now, your past lives. That sort of thing creates the layers of duct tape. And so that is what causes you to spin and spin and spin and spin in the same place, in some area of your life. So that to me is the biggest struggle. And it's so frustrating because it's that thing where you're like, you know, why can't I break free in this place? You could be struggling and have, really great friendships and like a really wonderful work life and all this great stuff, but you really struggle in intimate partnership, for, for example, right? But
Yeah.
there's like that thing where you're like, you're throwing everything at it, the coaching, the affirmations, the gratitude journal, the personal development, meditation, and here you are in the same place.
Yeah.
So until you release the distortion patterns, it's really difficult for the physical reality to change significantly.
Because everything starts on spirit level first.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sorry, I've now
sounds,
drawn breath.
yeah, so, yeah, because I'm like, okay, let's dissect. So it
Okay.
sounds like the distortion patterns are the things that fuck us up, right?
Yeah.
And then because it's the bullshit our ancestors were doing, it affects us in a way that is on a subconscious level where we're not like aware of it. So
Mhm.
it's just like kind of, is it like hardwired into our
Yeah.
being? Is it okay?
Yeah.
So it's hard. So you, because when I hear duct tape, I'm like, it's stuck. Like it's real hard to
Right.
get that off of me, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so like to answer your question. Okay, so let's just imagine your ancestor like 22 generations ago experienced famine. Okay? There wasn't enough to eat. So she's pregnant, right? That ancestor who you don't know her name, she's pregnant and she's starving. And she's freaking out because she's not only just worried about herself, she's worried about her other kids and she's worried about the baby in her belly.
Yeah.
That is in the field now because now she's terrified and the fear is of death,
Mm.
right? And she's pregnant. So that resonance of that fear of not having enough to eat, of not having enough, period, resonates through the DNA. And as you come into embodiment, it is there running in your field. You never knew her name. And you might feel like, I have enough money, but for some reason, I'm always freaked out that I don't have enough, or my fridge always has to be packed full of stuff, or I can't stop shopping, right? It's like, I have plenty. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
it's like, I don't feel like I have enough,
Yeah.
right?
Kind
So
of
why
like
do you feel like that?
kind of like with how in Black culture, a lot of times, like there are a number of pages that kind of crack jokes at our shared experience, and you always see how have we all lived the same life, where there's a pervasive energy, especially if you're Black American, that someone's going to
Hmm.
kill you or hurt you, whether or
For
not
sure.
you were doing
Yeah.
right or wrong. And that
Hmm.
pervasive fear is what our parents
Hmm.
instilled in us. No, you have to be perfect, you have to be better, you have to be this, you have
Yeah.
to be that, or else death and damnation will be brought, and it will affect the entire generation of Black people.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's what you mean. And it's always, especially with
Yes.
those memes, it's like, how do we all live the same life where our parents will
Yeah.
take a bag, a plastic bag, and put it on the door, and you use that for your trash instead of the actual trash can. And you can say that in a room full of Black people, and they all be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or your grandmother has plastic on on their sofas, and it's like, no, this is the living room, nobody sits here, this is for show and for show only. So I'm just trying to make
Yeah.
it so that the viewers or the listeners can understand what we mean by it's something that you
Yeah.
literally have no control over. Kind of like that, yo, how do we all live
Yeah.
the same life? That's how.
Yes. And what's interesting is through that lineage and through the culture, that's a very specific frequency resonance. So, like,
Mhm.
Black Africans don't have that in the
Nope.
same way,
Yeah,
right? It's a
different.
different experience.
Hmm.
It's totally different. It's a different resonance because what their ancestors experience isn't what your ancestors experience. It's different.
Yes.
And so the things that we fear that are kind of irrational. So, for example, not that this is irrational in the Black experience from what I can tell, but this fear that something is like always coming, like something
Yes.
bad's going to happen, and you have to always maintain a level of vigilance within your nervous system.
Yeah.
So that is something that is in your culture, in your lineage. It's
Hmm.
vibrating through who you are. And because it vibrates through who you are, now please know, I'm not trying to blame the victim. Who you are, the vibration that you resonate at, calls your reality to you.
Yeah.
Okay? Because here you are broadcasting this frequency.
Yeah.
And the universe is like, okay, that's a broadcast. Let's create that around that broadcast.
Yeah.
So your reality will start to affirm that.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? And you see your reality and you're like, well, of course, that's the way it is because there it is. So
Yeah.
you keep creating it. You keep
Hmm.
manifesting it in this like terrible, vicious cycle. You
Yeah.
see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's kind of what that makes me think of is now I know you said like science is catching up to spirit with epigenetics and things like that. But in a
Mm-hmm.
way it was caught up to the point where we talk about like things being genetic, like diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or heart disease or certain things that run in your family on that
Mm-hmm.
kind of surface level.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. Like it
Mm-hmm.
all runs in your family. So it's like the like they say now that now they're learning that genetics kind of loads the gun, and then your life and your experiences and the way you process things and your environment and your perspective will kind of
Shoot the bullet.
fire the gun, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
do have some control now with
Yeah.
this information as to how to navigate that. Hopefully, maybe I'm hoping that
Yeah.
you're gonna say that, because so far you're
Yeah.
making me feel like I'm just screwed. So I
Oh no.
like, auntie, great auntie. Like, is that why I'm afraid of spiders? Like, what's happening? Because
Well,
you know
yes.
what I
Well,
mean? Like, it
it's
sounds like when it's something that's so far beyond me, I'm not
mhm.
sure
Yeah.
if I can do something about it. And we
Yeah.
hear people talk a lot about energy and vibrations, and you're talking about these frequencies, but
Yeah.
how can we like, what do we do about that? Like, what am
Yeah.
I,
So what's
where do we
awesome?
go?
So sorry I've scared you. But it's funny. It's like when you become aware of things, you can start to understand how things are,
Yeah.
and that it hasn't necessarily been your fault.
Mhm.
But now you have, as consciousness is rising, as we start to learn more, you have the opportunity to make change. Okay?
Yes.
So
Hmm.
that's the responsibility that we have as we become more empowered.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you release these distortion patterns that you can't see that are screwing you up? Okay, we have gotten to the point in consciousness where our vibration is high enough that someone like me can work at the frequency level to release your distortions. Now, I realize that sounds a little bit like weird magic-y stuff. It's not. It simply has to do with rate of vibration because people ask me all the time, "Can you teach what you do?" And I'm like, Yes, to some degree,
Mhm.
and it's a vibrational level thing. So the higher your personal vibrational level is, because you've released distortion patterns, that's the fastest way I know of how to get there. There are other ways to get there, I'm sure, but this is the fastest way that I know how.
Yeah.
Once your vibrational level rises enough, you can start to affect things on the vibrational level. You can. And it's really amazing because what people can do as they start to rise is they can start to release their own patterns. It's
Mhm.
something I teach. But what I can't do for you is to release, like, so I can release things on the distortion pattern level, so at the frequency level. But what I can't do is dictate your free will, because you have free will. Okay? You are co-creating your reality consciously or unconsciously. You're doing it. You're co-creating it with your source or the one or whatever you want to call the divine, but you're co-creating together. So you have free will. So even though, for example, I might delete something on frequency level that has to do with, for example, low self-worth,
Mhm.
okay? And something comes up in your life and you still continue to choose low self-worth over and over again, you will
Mm.
override what I've done in the field because you are co-creating your reality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You are consistently choosing that over and over. So you have a part to play, which is really incredibly empowering. So even though like me can go in and find what the distortion patterns are
Mhm.
based on a collaboration with your higher self. So, for example, just to make this a little bit clearer, if someone comes in to work with me, whether it's on a group level or individually, what happens is I never see anybody, right? It's not like I see the individual sitting in front of me, like physically. It's not like we get on a call and I'm on a Zoom call and I'm looking at them. What I'm doing is I'm scanning the field of frequencies, which is infinite, for the frequency resonance that is you.
Yeah.
Once I find it, your higher self basically is like, this is the what's priority. So I don't even need people on the phone. You'd be surprised how many emails I have where people are like, "I wasn't even on the session with you, and what you said was exactly what I needed."
Yeah.
And I don't know what they look like. I don't know where they live. I don't know anything. What I'm All that physical stuff isn't relevant to me. What I'm looking for when I scan the field is the frequency resonance that's you and what is priority for you to release. Why? It's not just to have the things that you want in your life to make your life better, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's because whoever shows up in front of me is here to awaken. And what the hell does awaken mean anyway? Because it's a like term that's thrown around a lot, in the spiritual community. So like everyone wants to awaken. You're like,
Black
what the
people
hell does
say
that mean?
woke. We say woke
Right?
here. We say
Yeah,
woke.
exactly. So what does it mean? First of all, awakening isn't like a dot in the linear sense of time. It's a spectrum. It's infinite. So
Mm.
the beginning point of awakening is to recognize, to realize, to feel that you are greater than your physical self, that you are infinite, indestructible consciousness having an embodied experience. Now, I know you've seen that probably on like a bumper sticker somewhere in like a health food store or whatnot, and you're like, okay, that sounds nice, but I don't know what the hell that means. So, but you actually feel it. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, you have like this knowingness of an aspect of you that is greater, that is grander, that
You know
has
it.
this expansiveness, you know? And you know what it is because you've felt it before. Like if, for example, you've been in this place where you've looked at a night sky and you felt your heart open, you feel like the bigness of everything, or the beauty of a sunset, or like looked at a little kid laugh and there's so much freedom in it and joy and like there's no concern for whatever anyone's thinking about them. There's something about that magnificence, that soulfulness
Mhm.
that we recognize because it is us. It is an aspect of us.
Yeah.
So that is what you start to experience. That is what awakening is. When you start to realize that more of the time, that is what is real, that aspect of yourself, that is that consciousness, and you get to have an embodied experience.
Mm.
But the embodied experience, the thoughts you have, the emotions, they're not really you. Does that make sense? I know you're having
Mhm.
them and they seem real,
Yeah.
but they're not you. Does that make sense?
You're
So,
the, from what I've learned, you're like the observer of those things. Like you should be trying
yeah,
to get to a space where you are
yeah,
observing things from your higher
yeah,
consciousness, right?
exactly. And
Okay.
as humans, we're pretty funny.
Huh. That
Yeah.
we are. We really are. And what you're talking about is something that interests me so much because and Danny and I talk about it all the time. I've lived through so much trauma And at this point, we both have asked, I don't know what the hell my soul thought it was coming into this embodiment to learn, but I needed to hurry up and learn it so that we can move.
I always say that to her. I'm always like, I don't know what your soul came to learn, child, but please try to learn it so you don't have to go through this again. Okay.
Yeah.
But this
So
is a lot.
you know how you're saying learn? I need to learn this. Okay. The amazing thing about frequency work is it releases the pattern that causes you to be in that same cycle over and over again. I know it sounds like magic, and it kind of is, because when you start to rise in consciousness, what we're able to do is so much greater. So let me just give you an example, okay, just to like help people understand what I'm talking about. So I have this client who is amazing. She's like the friend, the friend that we all have. She's pretty. She's like the most amazing, lovely, warm human, has lots of friends, smart as all get out, has a successful business, helps lots of people with what she does. She's amazing. Okay.
Mhm.
An amazing woman. You're like, okay, she's curious, like does all the personal development stuff.
Yeah.
Always ended up with some jackass. Okay.
Mm.
In her intimate relationships. They were
And she
always
must have used to
either
been me.
emotionally absent.
She used to be me.
You're like, I'm talking to me. Yeah. So the guys she ended up with were either emotionally abusive or emotionally absent. Not there. So, and she always felt like she wasn't enough, right? Like she wasn't lovable enough. So she'd end up freaking doing everything for the guy, right? Cooking his meals, walking his dog, like planning his trips, sending gifts to his mother. I'm like, and all her friends were like, what are you doing? Like, but there she is feeling like she's not enough. So she's like doing everything perfect for him, right? And eventually, what happens in the right? And then eventually in the relationship, he ends up breaking up with her, which is like mind blowing because you're like, you're the idiot. How are you breaking up
Right.
with this amazing being? But that's what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually, she broke up with some guy that she'd been dating for like 2 years, and she was like, okay, enough
It is
with the men.
finished.
I'm done. Like, because I kept hitting repeat, different dude, same relationship. I don't want to anymore. So what she decided, she's like, in this period of time that I'm going to take without jumping into another relationship, I'm going to work on me.
Mhm.
Okay. So I've done all the personal development. I've gone to the meditation retreats. I've done this stuff. I'm going to try frequency work because what the hell? Why not? Right.
Yeah.
All right. She begins. So we start to release a whole bunch of stuff around low self-worth, about not being lovable, about not feeling like she was desirable and that she could receive love. We resolved a whole bunch of addiction patterns happening in her lineage, a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. She starts doing, this is not just individual work, she's doing a whole bunch of group stuff too, because actually there's a lot of momentum that happens in a mastermind that's greater than what you can do just on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So in any case, 10 months goes by, okay? And she's like, I'm really happy with myself. I really like myself. And now, even though I'm like a little scared, I'm ready, okay? I'm ready to date. She's like, okay, I'm releasing the celibacy wheel. I'm ready to date. Okay, so her friends are like, woo, let's see what happens. And they put her on these 2 apps, okay, or whatever the hell it was they put her on. She's really pretty, okay? So within 24 hours, she has 2 coffee dates lined up with 2 different guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Different days. Okay, one after the other. First guy, she goes on the date. She's like, you know what's amazing? I went on this date and I could see that the older version of me would have been totally attracted to this guy.
Yeah.
But I could see all of his stuff and I could see where I would have fallen for it. And even though I was like, I felt like I should have been attracted to him, I was like, not doing this again.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, even the fact that she had all that awareness is amazing.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe we'll be friends, maybe we won't, but I'm not going here again.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even defended about it. She was just like, I see what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared. I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Next date, next guy. She's like, nothing about this guy would have been attracted to me. Like, I don't even know I went on this date. Like, physically, I would have been like, no. And I would have said that, he's not that interesting to me. But we ended up talking for 2 hours
Oh,
on this coffee date.
wow.
Within a week, they've been on 2 dates. Within a month, they've been on a camping trip. Within a year, they've been to Europe and I can't remember where else.
Yeah.
Okay. And then a year after that, they get married. So
Oh,
it's not about the marriage because, we all
yeah.
think like the marriage is the thing. It's not.
No.
Here's the thing that was like, for me, the glorious, magnificent win. She wrote to me because she didn't need sessions as much anymore. So she, I wasn't having sessions with her as much. She wrote in, and this almost made me cry. She's like, Karen, I wake up and I look at my life. I see the house I live in. I see the man sleeping next to me. He has a child. She's always wanted a child, but never had her own. So he had a child, and now the child's hers.
Yeah.
And she's like, I freaking pinch myself because I cannot believe this is my life. And the amazing thing is, he just wants to make me happy. And when he wants to make me happy, I can receive it. And I know that he loves me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Total game changer, right? It's
Absolutely.
not about the ring. It's about how she feels about herself and that
Yeah.
she can receive love and that she's worthy of it. And this is the magic of the life that she has created for herself because she released all that crap and stepped into her authority and her power and her ability to know that she is lovable. I mean, that's not something you can tell yourself over and over and believe.
Yeah.
It's something you've got to release in the field so that you become it. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So
Yes.
when I read that email, I cried because I was just like, yes, you know, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that is, it is a fascinating place to get to, because when you're able to step outside of yourself and see that, no, this is not good for me because this person is emotionally unavailable, or this person's only goal focus is sex, or this person is a user, not because they are bad people, but simply because this is just the plane that you're on. This is the vibration. This is where your vibes are
Mhm.
at. This is who you
Mhm.
are in this moment. And because I no longer accept this, it is okay that I say, no, I'm not offended and I'm not hurt. Light attracts everything. It attracts good and
Yeah,
it attracts it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
a real thing. I would so I have a little personal account of that for myself
Mhm.
that I've experienced, where I went to go see a psychic. And I feel like sometimes calling her a psychic is not enough. I'm sure she is a frequency worker or something, because she's like, it's not as woo-woo. She wasn't as
Mhm.
woo-woo and like, strange, and it wasn't like in a movie, right? Like she was very
Mhm.
like regular.
Normal.
Yeah, like she was really like, yeah. So I went to her because I had just gotten out of a relationship, and I felt very lost and just very just didn't really know what direction to take. So I grew up in a very religious Pentecostal community, and psychics are deemed demonic. It's witchcraft. It's not something that you would ever go do. And I had a friend that encouraged me, but I was still very skeptical, and like I was like, oh my God, what am I opening up myself to? Like I was very nervous, right? But something just it just felt like something I needed to do for some reason. And so, long story short, one of the things that she said to me that always stuck with me, and like I said, I've gotten out of a relationship that I felt like I dimmed my light. I felt very small. I felt very like emotionally abused. I was questioning my self worth, my self esteem, things that I hadn't really ever experienced before, to be honest. I've
Mhm.
always been a fairly confident person with a pretty good self esteem, but this relationship just really tore me up a bit.
Mhm.
So she said to me that she said, like, I see that you've come to this life to find love for yourself. And she said that where I was vibrating, that my person was not on that level of
Yeah.
vibration. She was like, the
Yeah.
man that you're seeking and the man that's seeking you, he's not like that vibration level that you're at is not where he's at. And you're
Yeah.
going to have to raise your vibration to
Mhm.
get that, to get what it
Mhm.
is you're looking for. And I actually ended up reconnecting with somebody from a decade before that we
Mhm.
had just never really gotten a chance to explore and to just see where things could go because of what life was doing at that time.
Yeah.
And that was maybe, I went to see her maybe like that August. We reconnected that October. I was pregnant by the
Wow.
June, and we got married the following September.
Yeah.
And it was really something that, like, she gave me all the tools and tips to raise my vibration and to release things. And I do the same thing that that woman in the email did, where I wake up and I pinch myself, or sometimes I'm walking into my house and I'm like, I live here, or
Yeah.
I see him pull up and I'm like, oh my God, I have like a whole husband. I have two children. Like, you really get to, that resonated with me, because it's like, I know what that feels like to like wake up
Yeah.
and I'm like, is this my life? Like,
Yeah.
how did I, like, I don't even feel like I was that intentional to try to create the
Yeah.
life I have that I wanted, you know? So it
Yeah.
is something that happens, and it is beautiful, and it is, and I am so interested to see how I can do that more on purpose, like what you're talking
Exactly.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that unintentionally, imagine what can happen when you do it intentionally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as you rise in your vibration, you start to recognize how much you can do and
Yeah.
what you can affect and how you feel
Mhm.
and how you can come into this place of truly understanding who you are. Now, please know, I'm not suggesting that you're going to come into this weird, like, state of perfection that's like saintly, because that's not the human experience. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be messy. You're supposed to screw up. That's how
Yeah.
you learn, right?
Mhm.
You're not trying
So
to be
I'm not
perfect.
yeah, you're not
You're
supposed to
just
be a
trying to-
saint. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's not what it's about. But
Yeah.
it's really coming to a point where you come to a point where you start to recognize your own magnificence. You know,
Mhm.
you and I know that's a hard thing for people to get, because they're like, wow, that sounds kind of like self-aggrandizing, and I'm not super comfortable with that. But what happens is you start to become really at ease with you. Okay. I'm not suggesting that you can't grow and that you can't learn. We all can. It's infinite growth.
Yeah.
But there is something about knowing that that is so, like, beautiful and precious, because so much of us chase things outside of us because we do not feel that. We do not feel at ease with ourselves. We do not feel like I'm okay with all this. You know, we're trying to get away from that crap that doesn't make us feel comfortable about ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you release your distortion patterns, you start to have this wonderful sort of clarity and this thing that I call neutrality, which everyone thinks means non emotional, but it isn't about non emotionality. It's more about being okay with all the various outcomes. So you're neutral to what is. That in that state, you can, like, as you said, observe yourself. And you're like, okay, well, that was not an amazing moment that I just had there. But that's okay, because I can learn from it and grow and to rise, you know, in terms of who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a wonderful thing. So I have another client who's a very affluent family, okay, extremely affluent. And part of what she had to do, because she's part of this family that has a lot of influence, is she had to go to a number of these parties, okay? Because they'd always have parties to, I don't know, do whatever they do. And she always had to attend because she was part of the family.
Yeah.
And she said that she freaking hated these parties because she was so uncomfortable with herself. It's like she always wanted to hide. Like she's always like hiding behind the curtain or whatever, like, you know, in the bathroom for long periods of time or whatever, because she hated them because she didn't feel good about herself. She felt like she was an imposter. She was just like, I
Mm.
don't want to, I don't know what to talk about. I'm like totally awkward. So even within like just a couple of months, it was really amazing because I'd forgotten, because I don't really remember what it is that we work on, because
Mm.
I'm not thinking, I'm not engaged in my mental faculties when I'm working. It's not like I channel. I'm working at frequency level, so it's not like I'm remembering in the same way.
Yeah.
So anyway, a couple of months later, she writes in to customer service, and she's like, "This is not going to sound like a big deal." And I always felt like these big changes and these emails that people send in were never one that I would send in. But now I'm writing this. And she's like, finally, I went to a party and I actually enjoyed myself, because I was okay that I was a little bit awkward and that the story I told, I laughed at, but no one else did. I enjoyed it, however, you know, I
Yeah.
could be me
Yeah.
and it was all right. You know what I mean? Like I could actually freaking relax enough that I enjoyed myself.
Yes.
Now, why is that such a huge win? Because no one on the outside could see that. Because it means for her,
Yeah.
she had gotten to a place, and she's gone so much further than that since, but gotten to a place that she was at ease with her messy, her bumps, the things that she hates
Yes.
about herself or hated about herself.
Mhm.
She's like, okay, well, I can work on that.
Yeah.
See? And it made her feel less susceptible to other people's judgment. So the wonderful thing about frequency work as well, it's funny that your podcast is called Triggered AF. It really reduces the amount of triggering that you have, because you get to this point of neutrality where you're like, okay, I know who I am. I'm aware of my own frequency resonance.
Yep.
You're having that moment. All right. And it's not mine, you
Yes.
know? So it's kind of this amazing place that you can get to, which is really awesome.
It sounds like, and so that's literally the reason why we created the podcast is because you can't stay in this constant triggered place. We have got to acknowledge it, become aware of it, and then now work to overcome it or to manage it better. But it sounds like what you were just
Mhm.
talking about, and also what Danny was talking about, is kind of like timeline jumping, in that people think, oh, it's going to take
Mhm.
this long amount of time and we've got to do this. And it's like, no, you can
Mhm.
jump further on the timeline, or what what I've been, learning about myself is quantum leap, where something that should take
Yeah.
you 5 years, you're able to get to that place in 5 months. What is that? Like, I know
Yeah.
we've gone
Okay.
real deep, but I want to go a little deeper.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. So to me, I would speak about what you're talking about a little bit differently,
Okay,
if
okay,
that's okay. So from
absolutely.
my perspective, everything has to do with vibration.
Okay.
When you release distortion, you start to vibrate faster. It's just the way it is. Just imagine like you've got all this baggage and you start letting go of the baggage. Of course, you feel lighter, right? So your vibration level goes up. When your vibrational level goes up, what happens is the speed of change exponentially increases. Okay, remember, you're that sphere of pure source energy with all that duct tape around you. When you start to release the duct tape, the sphere starts to vibrate faster and faster. And the thing about all that duct tape is the sphere forgets that it's surrounded by pure source energy all around it, and it gets really, really heavy. So by casting off the duct tape, the sphere starts to vibrate faster and faster. And the sphere wants to vibrate faster. It's not like, yeah, I really like being crushed here. It's amazing. It's not like that's its experience, right? It wants to vibrate fast. So what can happen is everything is dictated by your rate of vibration. The faster you vibrate, the more change happens at this unbelievable rate. Like, people literally have changes within days or weeks that used to take lifetimes. And so it doesn't have to be that slow. Okay, so that's what I mean by vibrational rate and why it's so important. And also, as you said, Danny, about your guy not being on the same level of vibration, it's because the rate of your vibration is the thing that unlocks better possibilities in the field. Okay, so what the hell does that mean? So everything exists in the field of infinite possibilities, right? So Lynn McTaggart talks about this in her books, and Deepak Chopra does, and a whole bunch of people do. Okay, everything exists in the field of possibilities. Everything. Okay, so why do you only get to experience the shit experiences, right? The reason has to do with your vibrational level. The higher your vibration, it's like a key that unlocks higher and higher vibrating possibilities. So for Danny, as her vibration rose, it unlocked the possibility of meeting her man,
Yeah.
her now husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a different lifetime. It's not the same resonance or vibration that she was at before when she was crushed and feeling like crap about herself. Not
Yeah.
the same resonance. Totally different. But she needed to rise in her vibration in order for that other possibility to even exist for her, right? It exists in the field, but to her, it's not there because the vibration of her is not high enough to access it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the difference between quantum leaping and timeline jumping? Because everyone talks about quantum now in the pseudo spiritual realm, and you're just like, what does that mean? From my perspective, like, again, everything has to do with vibration. So, quantum leaping to me means that your vibration has gotten high enough that you, in your embodiment, have a conscious aware experience of being able to raise your consciousness or your vibrational level enough that you can start to access different levels of consciousness. Okay, what does that mean? So every consciousness level has a certain level of vibration. So to make it a little bit more like what is it like in what does that mean? So at this consciousness level that we exist at now, there's a lot of crappy vibration out there in terms of density, right? There's oppression and greed and fear and scarcity and abuse and all this bullshit that we don't want to experience anymore. That's really horrifying. Like, what humans do to each other is kind of mind boggling. Okay. Not to mention to animals, the planet, and everything else. Okay.
Yeah.
So All right. All of that kind of density, that lower vibration exists at this consciousness level. To come into a different consciousness level means that that no longer exists. It's higher in vibration. It means that lower level stuff doesn't exist. It can't in that level of vibration. So I'm not talking like rose colored glasses. I really want it to be different. No, it's freaking different. And also at that level of vibration, if the people who are accessing that consciousness level are really vibrating at that consciousness level, they start to experience more of the oneness, meaning I understand that I'm part of the oneness. So what I do to you affects me,
Yes.
right? Or what I do to this plant, or what I do with my garbage, or what I do with what, because it affects me. I am part of everything. So what I do and say to everything reflects right back to me
Yeah.
really quick. And we have that experience at a more visceral level, the higher in vibration we go, or the higher in consciousness level we go. So what does that mean? It means everything changes, because if everyone at that consciousness level is aware of that oneness, don't you think that how we would have government, how we have companies that help each other, don't you think that would be different if we actually really felt that way? Of course it would. It would change how we relate to everything, right? So that's what I mean by consciousness level. It's simply a big jump in vibration and what exists at that level. So to be able to quantum leap means that you're high enough in your vibration personally that you have the mastery to project your awareness into different levels of consciousness and to experience those higher levels of consciousness. Make sense? That's quantum leaping. Timeline jumping is something that we can do now. Now, again, everything exists in the infinite field of possibilities, everything, all timelines. So just like with Danny's example, the key that unlocks certain timelines for you has to do with your vibration. But you've all had moments where you've made a choice, where you've said yes or no, gone or not gone, talked to someone, listened to something, or not. And it changed the trajectory of your life.
Yes.
Yes.
You all have had them.
Mm-hmm.
You all have. And in that moment, you timeline jumped. So here you are having a certain experience. Your life is going a certain way. Like Danny with a guy who was the asshole. That one. Right?
Yeah.
So here you are on this trajectory and you can see where the life is going. It's going to suck. All right?
It's gonna suck.
It exists in the field. In the field, that possibility of you in that timeline with that guy still exists.
Yeah.
But you jumped into a different timeline where now it's like a totally different trajectory. Your life looks completely different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you did it unconsciously in a way, because you're like, I don't even know how it happened. It just kind of happened, right? Like I raised my vibration and then all of a sudden I was experiencing something else with someone else. Exactly. You timeline jumped. So what happens is, as you rise in vibration, you can do it more and more intentionally. Like I said, everything comes down to how fast you're vibrating. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So your ability to do it, you can do it. It's just that you need to raise your vibration enough to be able to do it intentionally, which is really amazing. And you can do it, by the way. Okay, everyone can. It's just a matter of raising your vibration enough to be able to do it. Okay, it's not like some magical subsect of people only, like the chosen few can do it. That's bullshit.
Well,
You can do it.
what are some ways? Like, do you have any practical, like, as our
Yeah,
last question, like, what are some practical tools or tips, or
yeah,
how are some ways that people can apply some of these things to their
yeah.
own lives?
Totally. The fastest way
Yes.
is to listen to a group frequency calibration. So you're like, what is that? So a group frequency calibration is essentially, it looks like a meditation. Some people fall asleep and that's fine. Where I basically work on frequency level to release the patterns that everyone's gathered to release. And good news, okay, it doesn't have to cost you anything, because I also have my own podcast. I think we'll have over 200 episodes. And the end of each episode, I talk about whatever topic it is, and then talk about it from like frequency perspective, like why it is the way it is. And at the end of it, there's always a group frequency calibration for free. It's like my gift to the world. So you can access like 200 episodes worth of group frequency calibrations
That's
to
Listen,
start. It's free, right?
that's a great
And
place to
you
start. That's
literally,
200.
yeah, it's a great place to start. Costs nothing. The podcast is called Mastering Your World Through Frequencies. And you can start to release a distortion. And you're like, well, there's 200 episodes. How do I choose one? Pick the one where you have the pain. You're like, okay, this is where it sucks for me. find the episode, listen to the episode, listen to the group frequency calibration. And what people will do is, if it really resonates with you, you're going to start to want to do more and more of it, because your spirit body is going to start to like vibrate faster. And you'll be like, some people feel a lot, some people feel nothing, some people fall asleep. That's great. It doesn't matter. You don't have to feel anything for it to work, because remember, it's at frequency level. It's not necessarily a feeling sense. You know what I mean? It's vibrating really fast. So just by doing that, it's amazing. Now, some people do things like listen to that and like do something where they're really present in their body, like working out or walking, or I mean, don't do something like bike riding where you might hurt yourself, but like, you know what I mean? Like something where you're moving, and that's really awesome. And they'll listen to it. You can listen to a group frequency calibration and cook. It doesn't really matter. You do your chores in your house, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Walk your dogs. But if you're listening to it, you're putting yourself in that field where you can start to release those distortions. And that, honestly, is the fastest way.
That's where you start. Okay. I love it. Listen, we must. This has been one of the best conversations. We have to have you back on the show in a live and living color version.
Oh my God. Wait, I was going to say. I swear, I was literally about to be like, well, Karen, I think that you might just have to like come every season.
Yeah, like
I'd love to.
Really about to say that.
You always feel the same.
Thank you.
I have chills too. Like Danny, you already know we're so aligned a lot of the time. It's wild, but no, we.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, I really want to be like, yeah. I don't know what we got to work out. I don't know what the deal is, but we need more of this.
It got to be something, and we got to do it together. So prepare yourself. You've just gotten married now to two other women, Alicia Reese and Danny Bordeaux. I hope you enjoy additional wives. Tell your partner we said hi. Welcome to your new
wife. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Before we let you go,
was so helpful. This was so great, and it was like I said, I selfishly just wanted to have you on for me, and it was worth it. I hope the rest of y'all got what you were supposed to get. If she put it down, I hope you picked it up. Okay. Because that was really, really incredible. And if you're open to coming back.
Oh, for sure. You guys are so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, because there's just so much, like we could probably talk for 3 hours. Like there's so much
probably
here. And we don't want to overwhelm, but I think if we like had a few conversations, we would probably be able to really give a beautiful gift to our audience.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd be delighted. Thank you for wanting to have me on your show.
Listen, this is, I don't even know okay, we're going to take them out of the deep end with one question, because this has been so good, and I want to bask in this. But what would you say has been the biggest risk you've ever taken?
To do this. So, meaning give the gift that I have to help others, to step into my function, which is to help awaken and to raise consciousness. And, I have a law degree. Okay. So just for background, I have a law degree. I used to, I had a really successful business in San Francisco with my husband and our team. We had a huge real estate business. And this came in, like I used to, I was very curious. I've always been curious about like how people work and all that stuff. So I did a whole bunch of personal development stuff. I did a whole bunch of spiritual modalities. Like it was all very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But, like being Asian, just like you guys were talking about being Black Americans, like for me, being Asian, it's really important to be successful and to be within a certain framework of safety, right? Yeah. Within success, right? Mm-hmm. So already I was stepping off the deep end by not being a doctor or an attorney, right? So here we are in like entrepreneurship land doing real estate. And then it's like, oh, we're going to dive further off into the deep end, into this thing that is hard to even describe. And people think you're nutso, right? So being like, I feel this calling. It is stronger than my need to conform and to be safe and to be successful and to be palatable to everybody. This is my calling. That was the biggest risk I took.
Listen.
And Karen, how can people work with you? How can we stay connected with you? How can I book a session?
We got to do a group something together, Danny. I was like, we got to do a group something together, Danny, me and you, so we can tap into the group and mobilize faster.
I'm ready to work. You said it, Karen. You said if people come in front of you it's because they are ready to be awakened, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, here we are in front of you. Hey, girl, hey. And we're now your wives.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. You guys are hilarious. Okay, so first of all, I would go to my website, sphericalluminosity.com. That's where you can find out where how we work, and the blog is there and all that good stuff. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. But what I would say is for your audience is two things. One is I have a free online quiet your mind workshop plus GFC meditation, which I feel is really helpful during this time. I'm just going to prepare you guys for this year. I'm not trying to scare you. This is a fierce year. Okay, it's like a lot is going to happen this year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of stress. And I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this to prepare yourselves, right? So because you can. There's many ways to do that. So if you listen to the Quiet Your Mind workshop, you'll understand why your mind will take off and does what it does. And also, more importantly, the group frequency calibration there is free. It's really powerful. We've gotten really great feedback from it. So that's there for you. If your audience wants to have that, I can send you the link and you can maybe put it in your
absolutely.
show notes.
We'll make sure we tag it.
And yeah. And then also there is a little package that I have for a free ebook that I wrote called Creation Manifestation: Why It Fails and What to Do About It. It's also an audiobook plus a morning meditation setting the tone of the day. It's really powerful. It's under 15 minutes. And what it does is it sets your frequency resonance at the highest level possible so that your day is actually a very different day than if you hadn't done it. Because remember, how high you vibrate dictates everything. So if you can start your day at a higher frequency vibration, that means that your day will look different. So all of that is usually $55. And if you use the code that is going to be in your show notes, then your audience can get it for free.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
And I can get it for free. Me, I'm audience. Listen,
and both are really powerful. So.
And after we get it for free, Danny and I are going to need to book an actual session with you. So just prepare yourself. Do you still take clients, Karen? Like, do you still take people?
Yeah.
Really?
So
Okay.
for individual sessions, so just because you asked that question, a lot of people want to have individual sessions, which is great, right? Because we get to be very specific and work on what you want to work on. But if you do a combination, actually, of the group sessions, because here's the thing, I'm not trying to like promote group sessions just for the sake of promoting group sessions. It really, truly is when you come into a mastermind, what happens is that mastermind, when it comes into coherence, which is what happens when we work together as a group and with me guiding, then essentially that mastermind picks up a lot of speed because you're gathering with the higher selves of everybody who is in the mastermind. It's not just in that moment when you're listening to it live, because I give them live. You also are connecting to the mastermind that's going to connect to it in all space time, because we also have replays of these things. So the mastermind gets really, really, really big, and it creates a ton of momentum because everyone in that mastermind is different. We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. We may all be there because we're trying to release low self-worth, but what your trigger is for low self-worth is different from Alicia's, right? You might have the same issue, but the trigger for you, the distortion pattern will be different. But because you have the whole mastermind, you've got all this momentum, and it can really start to propel your resonance like really fast.
Yeah.
So the masterminds are really like a microcosm of the oneness, right? It's just a reflection of that, and we're moving more and more into that oneness. So yes, have an individual session because they're very valuable. And I do give them, they tend to book out pretty fast, so just for you to be aware. And however, everyone in our culture will tend to dismiss the group things, but you would be shocked how many emails we get in from people saying, okay, I know you had a lot of people on that call and it was supposedly this group thing, but it was like you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a funny thing that happens when we all come together and we can help each other to rise.
Yeah, that's when you were saying that, like my brain immediately went to this is, like I said, both Alicia and I grew up in the church, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that is what church is supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? It's like the Bible even says like one can chase a thousand.
You could put 10,000 to flight.
10,000 to flight, or there are scriptures where two or three are gathered,
Yeah.
you're in the presence.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that I never put it together that way, but it
Yeah.
just like so interesting that even though I'm not in that space anymore, it clicked that way for me. Like I've
Yes.
isolated myself so much because of whatever hurt came from that, but
Yeah.
you just really opened me up back to that possibility and how powerful that actually is if it's done right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the thing is, in all the different religions, there is wisdom in them. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Very
distortion
true.
with regards to power. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we can say that pretty safely, right?
And
I
Absolutely.
mean, there's
control, yeah.
wars because of religion, which is kind of
Power,
amazing because
control,
that's not
violence.
what, yeah, exactly. And that's not really what the divine is about, but just saying. So, but there is accuracy in those things. The mastermind of two or three. The thing is, what's gotten convoluted and weird is the distortion around it, right?
Yes.
There is distortion in religion. And so there's good in it. I'm not saying there's no good,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of distortion in it. So the thing is, what's amazing about frequency work is it doesn't matter what religion you belong in, it will clarify it for you. You know what I mean? It's like, what is it? What was it meant to be? What was it?
Yeah.
What can it be when it's serving the highest vibrational order possible? What is it like when we embody that? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not about one thing is better than another. It's like what can enhance each other, what comes clear, what amplifies the good, and
Mhm.
like the distortion can drop away because
Yeah.
the distortion is like, what we don't really need anymore.
Karen,
Whew.
I don't
My
even,
whole, my whole, I don't
I
even,
just
I
gotta
don't
go.
even know what to do. I just gotta go, guys. I need to like go.
Okay, just go and like sit and soak this
Like
up.
I need like a shower cry. Like a shower cry. Like I need like a good shower cry. I need like to meditate. I need to do a group frequency calibration. I feel like
My head
this
is
is
like
so
this.
like I have chills. I'm just like I am spent.
In the best ways,
Okay,
though.
then we should stop.
Yes, don't worry, we are.
Yeah,
Okay,
in the
so
best.
find us.
Okay.
Where can you find us? Okay, all over the interwebs at what's my name? Oh, Alicia Reese. ALECHIA REESE. You can connect with Triggered at Triggered AFPC. Y'all, don't you worry, we will be bringing Karen back. I don't know where or even when, but we're going to figure this whole thing out because we must have more of you. Sorry, you've just we're family now. Hi. Where can we
You
find
can
you?
stay connected with me at the Danny Bordeaux. Bordeaux is BOURDEAU. You can stay connected with us at triggeredafpodcast.com. You should also go to our Instagram at triggeredafpc. And lastly, you should go to triggeredafevents.com so you can stay tuned with all the latest events and activities that we have coming to a city near you. And I hope that you all got something from this. I know I did. It just gave me my whole life. I've been in I'm postpartum, like 13 weeks. I just had a baby. So I've just been feeling so all over the place. And it's like, I really needed this conversation. So I hope that you all share this with your friends, your family members, so we can work on these distortion patterns together. Like we promised you guys when we started this podcast, is we want to do this together. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. Bye.